Sometimes I think one of the most overlooked parts of this online course creator business is purpose. And I think sometimes we get so caught up in having the right frameworks or marketing or content or funnel or strategy that we sort of forget that we're here to serve people. We're here to enrich people's lives, better people's lives, help them through something that they are struggling with. And I think everyone falls victim to that, even me. There have been plenty of times over the years where my intention was just to make a lot of money. And although I always cared about having great products and helping people, sometimes I've gone into launches where my intention was how much money can we make and not focus on how many people can we serve or are we going to serve? And although that's always been in my heart, sometimes that isn't really my intention, at least not at least in the past. And what I've realized is that one of the easiest ways to show up and be of service is when you are doing something that you're actually passionate about. And what I have also found is that sometimes when you're doing all the right things, like following the right frameworks, even your coach is I don't know what's going on because this appears to be right. I don't even know. And there are times where I've coached people, I'm you're literally saying the right things. I don't understand why it's not working. What it was they were off in their purpose and where they should be doing. And when you get down to the root of it, and I ask them well, are you really passionate about this? Is this really what you want to do? And I ask them the truth in that. And they'll look at me and they'll usually say, no, I don't want to do this. I don't want to work with these people, but it's what made me the money in the past. And I need to make the money again. And then we have to have an honest conversation about, you really need to step into your purpose. And the thing about purpose is that it shifts and it changes all the time. But when we can understand what it is and incorporate it into our content, into our messaging, it has huge amounts of power of connection, power of forming a tribe, of creating a difference in the world, of creating a following, creating a movement. All of that stems from truly understanding your purpose. And that's exactly what we're talking about in this episode. So if that sounds interesting to you, keep on listening. Hi, I'm Brandon Lucero, and you're about to experience the new way to thrive in business, entrepreneurship, and life by leaning into who you are, what you love, and standing up for what you want to create. Get ready, because this is where we go against the grain, say no to outdated society norms, and we say yes to change in order to create a happier, more fulfilled world. Welcome to the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast. Super excited to have you guys here. I wanted to talk about something that I don't even know how to talk about it. I'm just going to say it's purpose. It's purpose, your dharma, and I'm using dharma in the sense that it's more of a purpose, right? It's kind of like the thing you're supposed to be doing. It's the path that you chose before you came down here. It's the thing that lights you up. And the reason I want to talk about this is because there are a lot of businesses that you can start and do that have nothing to do with purpose, and you could be successful. And so sometimes purpose doesn't have anything to do with being successful in business. And I guess that could be one perspective on it. My belief, my perspective is that you choose what it is you are here to do so that your soul can have the lessons and the experiences it needs in order for growth and evolution to happen. And even if you think you're in a business where there is no passion involved in it, or purpose, my thought is that there still is. It's maybe you own a manure business, and it's do you wake up feeling like you're passionate about manure every single day? It's no, but maybe that is your purpose. Maybe that is your purpose is to have that sort of business for whatever lessons that you needed to learn. And I do understand, especially as we get into talk more about the businesses that we're in, which if you're listening to this podcast, I'm assuming you're a course creator or you're a personal brand or very heart-centered, or there is meaning in your work. You want to help people. So there is some sort of purpose. And so I do believe to the core of my being that if you're in this business and you feel like you're here to serve people and to help and to coach and educate, I do believe that purpose plays a really big role. And what we have to understand is I think a lot of times people think that our purpose or let's just put it this way. I think a lot of people think that you have one purpose. Like, what is the reason for me being on this planet? Why am I here? What is my purpose in life? And although I do think that there are very pivotal moments in every person's life where we have to make a choice on where we want to go, I don't think, and I do think those moments are very, like, you could go right, you could go left. We have a lot of those big moments. And I think in those big moments, that's you discovering what your purpose is in that point in time. And I think a lot of times people have this idea that your purpose is one thing for your entire life. What is my life? What is my purpose for being here? And it's like, there just isn't a one thing that you're here to do on this planet. I believe that purpose, and from my experience, purpose is something that's always shifting and it's always changing. And your purpose may be different. So like when I was 5 years old, the purpose of 5-year-old Brandon was to do exactly what 5-year-old Brandon did. Because that's what happened. That's what he was supposed to do. That's what he was supposed to experience. Those are the things that he needed to learn for whatever reason. And that moment in time when I was 5 years old doing those things, that was my purpose. My purpose was to be a 5-year-old kid doing whatever I was doing back then. And back in 2018, when we made our big pivot into at the time was the video 4X, and what I was doing before then didn't really work, right? It wasn't really working. And then all of a sudden it pivoted. Then bam, we took off. We did our first $1 million years. We did $1 million in 9 months. And in that moment in time, that was my purpose, the video 4X. And that was my purpose in that moment. And then that propelled me to NGM, and NGM was my purpose in that moment. And as I moved from purpose to purpose to purpose to purpose, what I've started to realize is that every evolution of my purpose in that moment in time, if I'm being present to that moment in time, has gifted me something I needed to get to the next one, to the next one, to the next one. And that's why my purpose keeps shifting and changing, because I think purpose in that moment in time is what we're supposed to be doing to learn and gain the things that we need to learn and gain. And I wanted to talk about this because this is really important inside the personal branding space, which, most of us are in if we're course creators, because I've coached probably over 4,000 people by now. Like, so many people that have come through our courses and our programs and things like that. And one of the things I've realized is that even when people do all the steps, all the things correctly, they do everything the way that they need to be doing it. They follow the framework. I look at their stuff looks great, and they're still not getting the results. I would say 9 times out of 10, and I would almost say 10 out of 10, but not everything is always the way, always one way. So I'll give it 9 times out of 10. 9 times out of 10, the reason why it's not working is because the person needs to pivot to something else that is in alignment with what they should be doing in this moment in time. And I do believe that if things aren't working and you feel like you're doing everything right, we do need to explore this idea of like, am I really doing what I want to be doing? Am I really doing what I should be doing in this moment in time? And one of the indicators for me is just passion. It's like, what am I actually passionate about? If you've been trying to push this offer to help people lose weight, but you're not passionate about it, you're actually more passionate about helping people with nutrition, then listen to the passion. That's your purpose in this moment. Could be. That's for you to discover. I don't know why I just told you it was, but it's for you to discover. But what I have found time and time again is the things that light you up, the things that make you passionate, and some are the things that you should be following. And sometimes it's scary because the thing that you were passionate about, built your entire brand around, may not be the things you're passionate about anymore. And that's a scary thing to let go of. It's a scary thing to move into something else. It's a scary thing to move into the unknown. But I do know that those moments are also what unlock huge amounts of revenue, potential. They just open up the doors to so much more. And every time I've been in a spot where I'm like, I'm not really passionate about this, I don't really want to do this, guess what? We don't make money. Or anytime I've been focusing on the money, we also don't make money. But every time I focus on what I'm passionate about, what lights me up, and being of service to other people, we always do really, really well. And so what I wanted to talk about is, how does purpose come into play in this course creator personal brand space? And so number one is just let it dictate your offers. Let it dictate what you sell and how you sell it, who you work with, those sorts of things. And if you feel like you're doing everything right, and it's still, the sales still aren't coming in, then it might be some sort of shift that you have to make. And so I always focus on what lights me up and makes me really, really excited. But at the same time, when we look at our purpose, we want to incorporate that into the brand. People need to know why we do what we do. And I call this connection content, or I actually call it deeper purpose. Inside of our program, I call it deeper purpose. And this isn't just talking about like something, the example I always give is if you're a copywriter. And if you're a copywriter, you might say things like, well, I help people write better copy, or I'm a personal trainer, so I help people lose weight. It's like, no, that's a result people get when they work with you, but that's not actually what you do. That's not your purpose. That's not your reason why you're on this planet. That is a result that you give. Yeah, when you're a personal trainer, people should lose weight, right? If you are a copywriter, you help people write more impactful copy. That's what happens. That's a result people get when they work with you. That's not your purpose. Your purpose is when 10,000 people have the result, there's an effect that happens in the world. There's a shift, there's a change that happens in the world because of that. That's what deeper purpose connection content can do for you. That's what it should do for you, is it should build that. So when we understand what our purpose is, we explore it. And again, there's always gonna be different layers to it. It's gonna shift, it's gonna change. We're gonna understand it deeper. That will always shift and change, but share it, talk about it, communicate that to your audience. For me, when I look at this, my purpose is not to help people write better messaging. And that may be shocking. Like, well, Brandon, we're here because of your messaging and we want to learn how to communicate better and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that's fine and dandy, but that's a result that you get from working with me. That isn't my purpose. Like, I wasn't born on this planet to help course creators with messaging. So I have to ask myself, well, 10,000 people have great messaging, great marketing. These are all people that want to help people. They're making an impact in the world. What shift is made in this planet? And when I ask myself that question, what I get to is I want to create a better world for my kids. And that's what this whole podcast is about the new generation of entrepreneurship. It's about teaching kids that with AI and software and robots and all these things out there, that like the job market's going to change. Like college is going to be outdated. Your degree's not going to be worth anything in most industries. We have to figure out a new way to make money. And I believe that entrepreneurship and the online space and a lot of things that are available now are great ways of doing that. And so when I can help 10,000 course creators start a business of passion, be experts in their field, are here to serve people, guess what? We are breeding the next generation of entrepreneurship, which is this online social media space. And that's what I do is I create a better world for my kids, create more opportunities for them to make money, but not only make money, but make money off of something that excites you and lights you up. That's what this is about. And so what I find though, is when we can step more into our purpose in this moment. We can step more into what is it, the thing and the purpose and passion. When we can step into the things that makes us passionate, the things that is our purpose in this moment in time. What it also does is it gets us really freaking excited to go to work every single day. And what it really does is it allows us to discover things that other people haven't discovered inside of our space because we are so passionate about it. We just want to explore it. We dive in, we get our hands dirty, we make things messy, we go in there, we put in some work, and what do? We start to discover things that other people haven't discovered. And that's what happened with me inside of messaging. I'm not formally trained on messaging or communication or any of those things. And I created a lot of different frameworks and patterns. Thought reversals is probably the one that most people know about us from me. That we created. I created that. I discovered thought reversals, created a framework around it. And guess what? Now, because I discovered something, I can teach something that no one else can teach, but that came from a passion. I was passionate about like, how do we create really effective content? How do we shift people's perspective? How do we reverse beliefs that are causing people suffering? I wanted to learn that. I was passionate about it. I was curious about it. And guess what? I discovered it. And it opens up this whole world for me to be able to become unique because I'm creating stuff that no one else can talk about, no one else creates because I was the one that created it. And what I found is that like this path of entrepreneurship, it's not easy. Like it's not an easy path. And if you listen to last week's episode, it takes a lot. It takes a lot to make it inside of this space. But what I have found is that when those moments are hard and it's something that you're excited about and passionate about, it's so easy to push through and to make sure you're successful with it. And it's really freaking hard to push through the hard times in a business you're not passionate about. And I know that firsthand. It actually sucks. There are moments where I was like stuck in a version of the business that I didn't like, where I just thought having a job would be better and easier. And if you know me, then like having a job would be like one of the worst things ever. But apparently being stuck in a business that you're not passionate about is worse than that. Both are equally terrible, I would say. I'm sure everyone listening would probably agree. But anyways, it allows you to show up even when you're in those moments of like really hard times. It allows you to show up and be like, no, I'm dedicated to this. I'm passionate about it. I'm going to continue to try. I'm going to move things around. I'm going to try different offers. It gives you that motivation that you need that you wouldn't have otherwise. And not only that, there's nothing better, in my opinion, than running a business that you're passionate about, that you wake up excited about, and have it successful. So there's going to be these times where it's not successful, where it is hard, and the passion's what can be driving you through. But when you get to the other side and you are successful with it and you freaking love what you do every single day, there is literally nothing better than that. Like that's the best career you could ever have in this planet. You have the time freedom, the money freedom, and you're doing something you freaking love. That's pretty awesome. But it also allows people to get people to rally behind you when you have a deeper purpose, when you tap into what it is you're supposed to be doing and you show up on this different level. It allows people to believe in you. Your marketing changes, your messaging changes, your podcast episodes change, your content changes, because the passion, the energy of that bleeds through inside of the content. Now, the question you might be asking yourself is like, well, Brandon, how do I find out the thing that I'm passionate about? And unfortunately, there's not much I can do for that, because it is a self-discovery process. Trust me, it sucks. I know it's hard. It's frustrating. I've had to go through it several times. In fact, I'm even going through it right now. I'm like, where do I really want the future of our brand to go? Where is my passion lying these days? Do I want to teach messaging for the rest of my life? Or do I want to expand beyond messaging? And we do. We want to expand beyond messaging, which is why we designed Built to Convert. I still want to be in the communication world, but I'm asking myself, how do I want to be in the communication world? Do we want to continue evolving our philosophy and our courses and programs? Do we want to develop AI around it? Do we want to like try the messaging philosophy outside the online space? Like, what do we want to do? How do we want to do that? So I'm discovering it myself, right? But all the times that I've had to do this in the past, it always came down to one thing, which is silence, sitting in the silence. And what that means is not just sitting in a quiet room, but turning your mind off. This could be in the form of meditating, going for a walk, or doing something where you're just not really thinking, and you allow, it's kind of like when you're journaling and ideas are hitting you so fast, you can't even write them down fast enough, right? You shut the mind off, you let creativity flow, and you'll discover it. But the one thing that I've also realized is that the clarity that you're seeking, the clarity that comes from this, will come in when it needs to come in. And clarity will always come in. Clarity will always come in at the time that clarity needs to come in, because that's when the clarity needs to come in. If you set the intention, you hold space for the silence, you allow for whatever needs to happen and for it to come in when it needs to come in, and you're aware enough to be paying attention to it, that's when you start to discover. And it may not all come in at one time. You may just get a piece here, and you got to act on that piece. Because the other side of this that I realize is that there's this bounce, this masculine bouncing of the masculine and the feminine, where yeah, we want to sit in the silence and receive the ideas, and we want to meditate, and we want to do all that stuff. Like we want to connect to source or the universe or God or whatever it is that you believe. Or if you don't believe in any of that, you want to connect to yourself, however you want to do it, because you are an expression of the universe, energy. Connect yourself, whatever it is, right? Hold that connection, set your intention, Turn the mind off and allow whatever needs to flow and let it come in. But at the same time, we have to take action on what we get. Because what I have also realized is that if you wanted the universe or whatever, whoever, to just give you the idea of here's what my purpose, here's your purpose, here's all the pieces of your purpose, here you go. You may not have the awareness to understand a lot of it. So let's just say there's 100 pieces to your purpose. You're going to do this, you're going to do this, and this is your purpose. But you only understood 35 of those things, which means 65 of them, you're just like, I have no idea what that is. Guess what? There's no point to giving you the 65 because you have no awareness around that. So sometimes you just have to take action on the 35. And when you get to the 35, what starts to happen is you have a different perspective. And now you understand and can see what the other 65 is. And I used to tell this story. I remember watching my son make a bow and arrow in the backyard. And I went there and asked him if he needed any help. And he told me no. And I was like, okay. And I was just watching him and he had this big stick and he was trying to like bend it, but it was a stick that wasn't going to bend. It was just going to either snap or not bend at all. And he said he didn't need any help. So then I just watched him and the stick eventually snapped. So then he went and he found a different stick that was a little bit more flexible. Okay, great. So he learned. Then when he went to go make an arrow and he made the arrow too short. So it would fit the bow and arrow if you weren't pulling the string back. But when you pull the string back to flex the bow and arrow, the bow to shoot the arrow was too small now. So now the arrow was like, wouldn't even touch the front of the bow. So now he had to make a new arrow. So then he made a new arrow. And then he shot it and it flew all over the place because the arrow wasn't straight. So then he found another one and the arrow was straight. And then he shot it and it went all over the place. Why? Because it didn't have feathers or whatever. And he put leaves on the back and that worked too. He taped a bunch of leaves to the back of it, just like you would with feathers. And then that worked. But if I would have gone up to him first and said like, hey, you need to make sure that the arrow is straight, that it has this length on it, that you put these feathers or leaves at the end of it. It needs to have like be flexible, blah, all of these things. I gave him 1 through 100. He may not even understand what it meant when I said, hey, the arrow needs to be longer because the front of it will not be able to touch the front of the bow and when you stretch it back. Like he may not even understand what I'm saying, but then when he had the actual experience of bending it back, the arrow being too small, he would be like, oh, I get it now. Or when I said it to him, he'd be like, oh, that is what I experienced. His awareness got raised through the experience of trying it on his own. Right. But if I would have just said, hey, go make a bow and arrow and just make sure the stick is flexible enough so that it doesn't snap. Like that's the first thing I told him. That's your purpose. Go do that. Like he got it. And then once it's done, now he's like, okay, I get it. Now he's ready for the next step. He's ready for to have a better understanding. His awareness got raised. So he has a better understanding of what he needs to do next. And sometimes that happens in purpose is that we have to take action. We have to take action on the clarity of these things to gain the clarity of what we need. So something to think about. Something to think about if you're in this place where you're like, I don't really know what to do. I'm not really sure what I'm passionate about. Sometimes it takes time. We have to let the clarity come in. But then we have to take action on stuff sometimes too. And combine these two, the masculine and the feminine, in order to find our purpose. But I do know once you have your purpose incorporated into your work, it's so much easier to show up with a lot more energy. Your team can feel it. Your audience can feel it. Your content gets better. But it also feels like the universe is just conspiring to put things in the right order for you. It's conspiring to make you successful. And sometimes when we're not in our purpose, it feels like it's conspiring to make us not successful. Like we're trying to push a boulder up a hill. So go explore your passion, start creating that connection content. Talk about this. Talk about the shift and the change that you want to make in the world in your content. That is what connection content is. And it's one of the quadrants that we teach if you want to have a successful brand. So hopefully this is beneficial for you guys. We will be back again next week with some more episodes. We are pumping episodes out. We're going to be adding in a bunch of new stuff as far as frameworks go, teachings go, all of that stuff. I'm really excited to dive more into teaching messaging in ways that you guys haven't heard before. So all that's coming. So pay attention next week and I'll see you all next week. Take care, everyone.
Hey guys, thank you so much for checking out another episode of the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, go below, hit the subscribe button, and make sure you click on that bell icon and get notified every time we drop a new episode. Now, if you're looking for the show notes, we have them linked underneath this video, as well as our social media handles and some links to free training and offers that we drop from time to time to help you guys even further. So go check those out if you're interested, and thank you so much for tuning in to the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast.